Hello and welcome to Direct Approach with Wayne Moorehead, an exclusive podcast by Direct Selling News, where host Wayne interviews the channel's leading corporate executives to provide timely insights and relevant takeaways to help you grow and evolve your businesses. In today's episode, Wayne is joined by Joni Rogers-Kante, founder, CEO, and chairwoman of SeneGence. In 1999, Joni made her dreams of entrepreneurship come true when she founded SeneGence. Inspired by an idea she had as a young mother, SeneGence launched with a single product, a revolutionary, long-lasting lipstick named LipSense. While the business and product line continued to evolve over the years, so has Joni's steadfast commitment to innovate. Today, she oversees more than 200 employees in SeneGence's offices worldwide. She and her company have also been recognized with many honors, including DSN's Bravo Leadership Award, being named one of the most inspiring trailblazers and leaders. In fact, Trailblazer perfectly describes Joni and her dedication and mission not only for SeneGence, but the entire channel. In this episode of Direct Approach, Joni and Wayne talk about her love of beauty and passion for business and how it led her into direct selling, and also how the rapid pace of change is driving and requiring more, faster, and what that means for leaders, distributors, customers, and the channel. Joni also shares how they are preparing for the future with the use of technology, including VR and AI, and how the company is deploying NFTs as an innovative resource to broaden customer acquisition strategies. Plus, Joni shares the one thing that she says in hindsight would have saved them a lot of time and money over their 23 years in business. Across the channel, executives are constantly looking to hear from leaders like Joni. And DSU events are where direct selling executives gain those insights, access, and ideas in 2 days about what's working, what's not, and what's next for the channel. Join us in just 7 weeks for October 6th and 7th in Irving, Texas for the fall DSU event to learn about some of the hottest topics and opportunities in the channel right now. And it's perfect timing as you and your team finalize your 2023 initiatives. Speaking of teams, we encourage you to attend with your key team members so that you can all walk away with a baseline of information for faster synergy and momentum toward implementation and execution. We invite you to join us in person and maximize the sharing and networking opportunities that you can only get at an in-person event. But regardless of how you attend, the event is free to all active corporate direct selling executives. We don't want you to miss out on hearing from leaders that are making successful strides in critical areas like customer acquisition and retention, Amazon, and engaging Gen Z to future-proof your business. Register today for DSU so that you can hear from billion-dollar builder and president of Prove It, Blake Mallon. With over 2 decades of field, ownership, and executive experience in the direct selling channel, Blake offers a unique combination of wisdom and innovation that has helped him turn ideas into iconic, healthy lifestyle brands. And at DSU in this fall, Blake will share how he has successfully generated $50 million in cumulative Amazon revenue across multiple brands in a way that simultaneously grows and protects your brand. Blake understands the pain points that the Amazon culture presents for direct selling companies, and he is going to share exactly how he's done it and how you can too. Plus, we have a special presentation from Amanda Tress, founder and CEO of Faster Way to Fat Loss. They are a $50 million plus social commerce super affiliate model. Amanda will share her secret sauce and how she used one single marketing strategy to become the fastest growing digital nutrition and fitness company in America and qualify for the Inc. 500 list of fastest growing privately held companies 4 years in a row. This one marketing strategy that Amanda's going to share enabled her company, The Faster Way to Fat Loss, to impact over 250,000 clients and help entrepreneurs to earn income by certifying nearly 2,500 coaches since 2016. You do not want to miss hearing and learning about these big 3 channel topics and so much more at DSU in October. Register today at dsu2022.com, and we look forward to seeing you here in Irving, Texas. And now, please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorehead, and today's guest, Joni Rogers-Kante, founder, CEO, and chairwoman of SeneGence.
Hello and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Moorehead, and I am very excited to be joined today by another inspiring individual that has created one of the biggest brands in beauty, founder and CEO of SeneGence, Joni Rogers-Kante. Joni, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Wayne. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this. You bring an amazing perspective. You've had so many great experiences in the channel. And I know that we're all, the listeners and me included, are going to learn a lot. And I'd love to start off by taking a little bit of a step back. You actually found direct selling fairly early in your career, and you had the incredible opportunity to work with one of the biggest icons in the channel that we all know, that we're all familiar with. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like and what led you to starting SeneGence?
I left the retail business. I was at an early age, at age 22. It happened that I was working with my stepfather, who was engaged in building and expanding a drugstore chain. The name of the drugstore was Save on Drugs. It's changed hands and ownership many times since then. But during that period of time, I had the privilege of working with not only him, but the likes of the presidents of Procter and Gamble, Mead Johnson, Colgate
Oh, wow.
Palmolive, because in those days, drugstores, of course, were the main method. Drugstores and grocery stores, they were the main sources to move their products. So we expanded from like 15 stores to over 300. And that was really fun. In the meantime, I was trying to go to college, but at that time, the business classes that I was taking were not in tune with the more modern days, more modern techniques of stocking stores and keeping inventory and all that. Like, they weren't even talking about barcoding or anything like that yet. So I told my dad that I felt college was kind of a waste of my time. And he agreed that I was learning a lot more at work than I was at college, but said, look, if you don't have a degree, you're going to have to make it on your own. So I said, okay, that's fine. So I started looking around for other things that I could get involved with. And of course, I love the cosmetic department. So I started looking into cosmetic companies. And because I didn't have a degree, I could not get a job with the likes of, Revlon or L'Oreal. I went on interviews and I just could never land one. So I decided to look into Mary Kay Cosmetics, where you could learn to run your own business. And that completely aligned with my goals. I had decided while I was working with my dad that I really didn't feel like, as a woman, I wanted to put in the kind of time and effort it would take to become a CEO or a COO for a major brand, because these guys were on the road all the time. And I already knew that I wanted to get married and have a family, but find some kind of balance where I could do that and run a business. So I landed in Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I fell in love with the structure of how, and the concept of helping others succeed. And while doing so, you succeed as well. And teaching women how to run a business from their home on a part-time basis completely fulfilled me. I loved doing that. I loved watching their progress. I loved watching them succeed. And so at a fairly young age, I just fell in love with the industry.
Oh, that's incredible.
So time goes by. I'm a distributor for, or consultant, I believe they call them, for quite a while. I married. I had a child. So everything, I was on track for everything, but my marriage wasn't so great. So I eventually became a single mother. But during that period of time, as you know, Wayne, if you have kids, and we all know, as we're cradling children in our arms, they play with your face.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're in cosmetics in the day, when they played with your face, your makeup was all smudged. And I thought, why can't someone create a product that would stay put? I know women would love that. And if it's going to stay put and stay on your skin, then it has to be healthy and help make your skin more beautiful. And that's how I came up with the concept. So years passed. when I finally became a single mother, I thought to myself, I had absolutely nothing to lose. So I'm going to take this idea, I'm going to write a business plan for it and see if I can make it happen.
That's incredible. I'm curious, in your interactions, you had the opportunity to hear Mary Kay speak and interact with her. What is maybe the one biggest lesson that you took away from listening and interacting with her?
She was tough. She was a tough businesswoman, meaning she gave me permission to not only be a female in business, but to hold the line and not make excuses or accept excuses. And I think that lesson has just remained with me throughout the years, when sometimes I, as a woman, want to maybe be a little softer in areas where I shouldn't be soft, because good business practices wouldn't basically allow for that kind of behavior. So I've been able to stay on track and be more adamant, be more courageous, maybe be even a little more forceful at what I thought had to become a part of the culture or the business process, and just hold your ground on that. Mary Kay was very good at doing that.
What a powerful lesson. I think that's really important. As the father of two daughters, I love hearing that. I think all of us need to be able to make the tough decisions and lean into tough situations. That's something that I've had to learn and develop over the years as well. I also think it's interesting in your story that, as you mentioned, wanting a family and growing a business, that part of the driver for you was balance. And yet you end up going the entrepreneurial route and starting an enormous company, where I'm sure that balance was challenged many times, and you probably had to integrate, all those different aspects of your life in really interesting ways. And so, anyhow, thank you for the example on that. I think that's really impressive.
I did integrate my family into my business. In fact, at one point, I think all of them have worked for us in whatever capacity they were interested in. Of course, I married my husband, who is our chief strategic officer and has been absolutely critical in helping us build the company. My son, Alan, is employed by the company and holds an important role and helps us continue to progress in ways that I probably wouldn't have thought. But in the beginning, I built classrooms for him in our very first office. And we actually hired a teacher, and he would run up and down the hallways during his breaks. But as not only was he learning his schoolwork, he was learning all about business at the same time. So he knows this company inside and out.
That's incredible. That is so invaluable for children. I wish I was able to have an experience like that. And as I've talked to other CEOs in the channel, it seems like they have tried to do the same at times, really to integrate and have it be a learning experience and better integration, not just for themselves and their families, but also for others in the company as well. And I think especially maybe in this new environment where we're mixing home and work in a much more dynamic way, that maybe we can all do a little bit more of that. So I want to continue with the last couple of years. The last few years have been interesting for all of us. Our businesses, our lives were disrupted, tons of change, yet we're starting to get the sense a little bit, we're not completely out of the woods, but things are starting to settle and normalize a little bit and, go back to a baseline. One of the things that appears that's not changing, that I hear from others in the channel, is today's consumer. That there is a difference. Even in this last couple of years, these last few years, there's been some marked changes in drivers and motivators. I'd love to get a sense from you how you see today's consumer different, and distributor consultant, how they're different from just a few years ago.
Well, I think today's consumer and consultant, and I'm going to extend that even to employees, want to do things when they want to, on their own time, with ease, in a setting that makes them feel comfortable. I think that today's consumer specifically wants a greater variety at their fingertips, so that they can make the decisions that, of course, are best for them. I think our distributors want a greater return for the amount of time that they're working at their business. And I think our employees want more flexibility in how they get their work responsibilities done. So I think all three of those areas have changed quite a bit. And those people who are in charge of making sure that we're overseeing customer acquisition or developing our distributors and making it possible for employee growth and professional development, we have to take a look at all three of those things and make some pretty significant changes. And not just one change, it's an ongoing change in every single one of those areas, because the world and technology and even expectations are changing so quickly. It seems like almost every 6 months, there's a new thing that makes it easier, and we have to be on top of that, because that becomes the new norm. That becomes the new expectation. So I can't say that we've become an expert at any of that. And I don't even think we ever could be an expert at any of that. But there's a lot of different balls that we're trying to juggle at one time to be more accommodating for all three groups.
What do you feel are kind of the top one or two of those where you're focusing, or that you think another company should prioritize? Is it the shopping, the e-commerce experience? Is it enrollment? Is it events? Where do you feel that the greatest return is going to be for the least amount of effort for us as companies?
Well, without a doubt, customer acquisition, and tying customer acquisition to the productivity of the consultant, so that the consultant can as well have a greater outcome. Customers get what they want in a way that they want it. They get it faster. And of course, our distributors can serve more customers, acquire more customers, and therefore have a greater return for the same amount of money, or for the same amount of time they used to spend maybe 2 years ago. They're doubling and tripling their income.
It's interesting. So our companies are at least attempting to play a greater role in the customer acquisition process, where historically that was very much the field or the consultant's responsibility, where they almost wanted us to kind of stay out of their way. Hey, give us the assets, give us the things we need, but we're going to manage these relationships. How do you feel that the consultants are changing? Do they realize that there's more of a partnership now? Are they open to that partnership and combined effort? Or are you seeing a little bit of resistance in the field saying, look, this is still kind of our primary responsibility?
When you ask that question, it reminds me of the years, maybe in the early 2000s, when we had our annual seminar. We set up a bunch of long tables. We rented a whole bunch of laptops, and the girls came to seminar, and we said, girls, go take a seat over at those tables. These are called laptops. This is how you plug it in. This is how you turn it on. This is called a website. Now, this is how you're going to place your orders. You're no longer going to fax your orders to us or call us with an order. This is it. There's a hard stop, and you have to learn how to do this because it's going to help your business. We're going through the same process. We launched, of course, our customer acquisition program maybe a little later than some of the other more established companies have. I think we launched it maybe 2.5 years ago. And for the first year, it wasn't very well received. Our distributors were very used to handling their customers 100% for all purposes. We never touched their customers. We didn't have their customer information unless someone was, we could dig for it and get it from our 24-hour replicating sites, e-commerce sites, which every distributor has. But that was not a practice of our company. So we never touched the end consumer. So it's taken us the same kind of effort to teach our distributors and to align our respectful trust in how we're going to handle and acquire these customers, and what's going to happen to the customers as they now hand them over to us, and we help them increase the sales from each customer. It really has taken a while for that to catch on. But now, we're 2.5 years into it, they are clamoring for different ways for us to help them acquire new customers, because now they get it. We're not going to violate any kind of trust that we've built with them from us helping them with their customers and increase their sales. Now they want us to invest in the systems and the technologies required so that they can each use it to get more customers, because again, they expect to make more value, more return for the same hours they used to work in what I call now the old days.
Sure. It is going to be a significant shift, I think, on both sides of the fence. And as you said, developing that trust is going to be really vital if they do understand, and we're able to prove to them that we do have not just our business's best interest at heart, but their businesses. And to be able to communicate in a way where they understand that these changes, or even just these new tactics that we're able to deploy are really, in the end, going to benefit them as well. Mm-hmm. I'm curious where you see, all within that, there's so many different touch points, so many different angles, different technologies at play. Where do you see the corporate's responsibility? Like, where's it okay for us to play? And where is it not? Where do we need to leave that kind of relationship? And then I'd love to pick it back up on the retention side as well, what you've seen, or if they're open to us helping to retain and communicate and keep those leads and customers warm over time.
It's kind of a difficult question in that I think that we've come far enough along with our sales force where that there really is no line that has been drawn in their expectation of corporate to help them attain new customers. I don't think there's a limit to that. I think any way that a company can help a distributor acquire new customers is free game. And I think they've learned that. And of course, that's the responsibility of a company to make sure that you're not violating or in my mind, not taking the customer away from them, always making sure that the distributor is getting the return that was originally promised to them for helping acquire that customer. So it's really a shared responsibility. And I think if you do it well and the corporation doesn't violate any kind of understanding for any reason in that way, I think you're going to build a more trustful, stronger sales force as time goes by.
Absolutely. And undoubtedly, a much more successful outcome, I think, for everybody. And it's great that we're both building and continuing to build trust on both sides of that, knowing that we have the overall best interest in heart. That trust is really important. Thank you for sharing that. So I've always been really impressed, especially the last few years. You talked about your customer program. I've been able to hear on stage at DSU some of your marketing team speak about what you're doing in social with these other technologies. One of the technologies that you've been able to really deploy and leverage to great effect is VR. So I'm curious if you can share some of those experiences, how you've deployed it, how it's been received, and where you kind of see that going for the channel and for anybody managing and building a sales force.
Wow, that's a big question. In fact, yesterday I was in a mentor group with Peter Diamandis, who is very big in the world of VR and, of course, space rockets and all that kind of thing. And he gave a description of in the next 5 years there will be two kinds of companies. Companies who have VR experiences in the metaverse and companies that are out of business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong statement.
That's definitive for sure.
Yes. So a couple of years ago, of course, we started looking into VR, web 3.0, whatever you want to call it, the metaverse. And we, during stay at home, we sent all our leaders Oculus glasses. And we had built through one of Peter's groups the first room of our Cineworld. And we had meetings and schedules set up for our leaders to meet us in this room and to just march forward under normal circumstances and hold our personal meetings where I sat down and I go over their reports with them. We talk strategy and growth. We got to do that one-on-one. We had group meetings where we watched some videos together. We tried to replicate our event as closely as possible to an event that we would have had in person, but we did that in VR. The outcome was interesting. Some of the distributors really loved it and thought it was an amazing experience. We were awed that we could stand next to each other and, hit hands like we're saying hi and hear a clapping. We could hug each other. We felt like when we were sitting next to each other in chairs and talking that we were actually having a physical experience. And so some people really loved that, and others were so thrown off, they didn't really know what to think about it. They thought it was kind of creepy. But
interesting.
When things like that happen, I go back to that seminar in early 2000 when we have to say, okay, girls, this is a laptop. Here's how you turn it on. So we're in the process of teaching our people how to navigate the virtual world. We missed an awards trip to Tahiti. So we had Tahiti built in our SeneWorld. And we all showed up. We had little mocktails in our hands, and we walked around this beautiful beach and hutches in Tahiti, jumped in the water, played with music, learned how to expand things and build things in that environment, and just had a lot of fun and felt like we had a true experience as if we were all there all at one time. Now, don't get me wrong, nothing will ever replace face-to-face physical proximity. But this VR experience that we continue to build is the next best thing to it. And I believe that as we expand our world and as AI helps us through customer acquisition, through consultant acquisition, it's going to be virtually impossible for all of us to get together at specific times in person. And this is the next best thing, having experienced it myself. And now it's getting so good where that, how I'm moving my arms like this, your little avatar is looking more and more like you, and it actually moves with you have you done it before, Wayne?
I have used an Oculus, never really in the direct selling or sales, context, but it is pretty amazing. It's very immersive. It almost even kind of makes you, for me, I was taking a tour through a European city and I almost like felt off balance at certain points as it was moving around, but it is an absolutely incredible experience.
So we're continuing to build our SeneWorld where that we have training rooms and videos. We have beauty bars, a little store, but we're not ready to actually put it into play. We're part of the team. Our team is meeting in virtual reality, moving forward as a habit, just so that we get used to that reality that we're all growing towards. And as we complete each section of our SeneWorld, we'll slowly just continue to teach our distributors how to use it, teach them how to bring customers into it, teach them how to make sales through it, so that when it happens, when it's here and everybody's saying, oh, what happened? I didn't know we were supposed to do that. Then we're just trying to do it now so we can work the bugs out. So it's still small, but we're I think finally we might be ahead of the curve. And that's what I'm going for. I just don't want our company or our distributors and even our customers to feel like we were behind the ball. And I would suggest that all companies start this project now.
I think that's really important advice, and especially echoing what you said about the advice Peter Diamandis gave around relevancy of not adopting this over the next 5 years, I think is really powerful advice. I think you're right. And I do love that you're leading. I feel like I am able to talk to lots of people in the industry fairly frequently, thanks in part to this podcast. And I love that you and your company are really out there pushing the boundaries. The companies that I've been at, we've talked about it a little bit. Maybe it got used or deployed kind of once, but it almost was more of kind of theater or entertainment, or almost, gimmick's not the right word, but it really wasn't leveraged, I think, to its full extent. And it sounds like you're looking at all these different ways to really bring your consultants and brand lovers together to get experiences that they otherwise wouldn't be able to have. I agree. I think events, whether it's coming and touring manufacturing or headquarters, or maybe even an incentive trip that someone wasn't able to go on or didn't qualify for, I think there are so many ways we can deploy this to make these even deeper and richer experiences. So thank you for leading. And I agree, we all need to get on the boat really quick here on VR. Another thing that I know you and your company are very passionate about is analytics. So you're using and leveraging these technologies in really unique and interesting ways, but you're also listening, you're learning, you're scaling. And I'm curious, what are some of the platforms, as you look across the analytics, what are some of the platforms and technologies that you have seen most effective, that have had the biggest impact on your businesses and your consultants' businesses?
Well, I don't think we've actually deployed the one that I think is going to have the biggest impact. We're preparing to deploy it, and it's a form of streaming and sales and connection and having an interactive conversation with customers. That is coming. Wayne, to be honest, we have over the last 2 years been working on a whole new platform stack of, and as we're stacking different, capabilities, we are improving our ability to provide better AI into virtually every department for almost every single question that we have as it applies to our business. But we're not in a mode right now where we're fully deploying any of it, because we're still building, we're still adding. So I honestly can't give you a specific answer to your question. We're in the infancy stage of
Sure.
so many of the things that we've just been able to connect with or build or program, whichever one applies best.
I think that's actually a really wise statement. I know that so many of us are data rich, but information poor. And I know that you're really taking this data, your team's analyzing it and really using it to inform strategic decisions, what to build, when to build, not just collecting all this information for reporting, but for actually implementing to advancing and improving the business. And I think that that's something that I learned in kind of researching a little bit for this conversation, is how much emphasis that you and your team have placed on those analytics, those roles, and turning those, that data into insights. I think that's pretty incredible.
So let me address that from a founder's point of view.
Yeah, please.
And a non-computer whiz, which is me. So all decisions that used to be made up until, I would say, 5 years ago, maybe 7, were made by me and my husband, my team, Karen, Kirsten, Michael, based upon some very top level numbers that we had from the prior years and gut instinct. And it was a lot of gut instinct. And now when we make decisions, it's almost like you can't even use gut instinct. You don't need to anymore, because the information is so detailed and it is so obvious that I understand how valuable this AI becomes to companies, simply because the numbers don't lie. And I think if all companies could get to that point, of course, they're going to be more successful. And as a founder, I'm just trying to figure out, if anyone really needs gut instinct anymore with so much AI around.
That's
I'm
really
thinking,
interesting.
yeah, it is. Where does that go? Where does that sense of I have a hunch that this is going to work? Where do the hunches go?
Well, I think your instinct and insights and gut have served you very well to this point. So I would say try to combine both of those things. Again, it has served you well so well up until this point, and I think the data can lead in new directions. It can also validate those insights and instincts that you have as kind of the, not only just the chief executive officer and founder, but the chief brand officer, the person that knows the brand and directs the brand more than anyone. But it is interesting how much data and information we have now, and we just need to make sure that we're leveraging it right and utilizing it to really inform a go forward, not to just say, hey, here's great reports. We've all been there, we've all built those decks and reports, but what does the data show you what the future is going to be like? Use it more as a crystal ball too. I think we'd all be much more better off down the road. Another thing that I think is really interesting that I'd love to chat with you about is your influencer program. So I've been at companies where, to be honest, I've tried to implement influencer programs and it hit the brakes. There might be people internally, there might be some consultant leaders in the field that felt like, hey, we are the influencers. You don't need to find these other influencers. And in one respect, I really agree. They are influencers in their own respects. They have followings. They can have an impact on their circle of influence. I think even outside of a revenue generating standpoint or a sales standpoint, other influencers, if we pick the right ones, can help position the brand and really help build the brand, around a certain subject matter expertise or a certain category. I'm curious your thoughts and maybe what you experienced in rolling out an influencer program and what has been most effective for you at SeneGence.
We don't really have an influencer program. What has happened for us, it's actually worked in the opposite way. We have a consultant program, of course, a distributor program, which we call them. And many of those distributors chose to work online and to conduct their business always online, never in person. And as a result of that, for honing their trade, becoming wonderful makeup artists, becoming great educators of product knowledge, they have amassed quite a following. And those people have become our influencers. So they started as distributors and then became influencers. We have tried influencers who are professional influencers. We've experimented with them in different countries. I think we did it a couple times here in America. And what we found was the influencers that were hired to talk about our brand and use our brand, any kind of spike in sales that we had as a result of that was very short-lived, because these influencers go on to the next new thing. Yeah. So I would say the influencer program for us is very organic. And so we have our top distributor influencers, social media influencers, teach our other girls good practices. But to be honest, I think as a whole, the amount of people who are going to be incredibly successful influencers is a small percentage of the whole.
I think you're right in what you said there. I think if you're just renting an audience, they're not going to be there for the long term. But if you're building it kind of from the ground up more organically, it can have, a much greater impact longer term. I think that's really interesting. Again, I'm always interested in learning the approaches that different companies are taking and what's working.
For virtually any question that you and I might talk about, we can come up with some really brilliant answers and angles if we were using a GPT-3 on open AI and just type it in and say, okay, what's the future of influencers? And you'll get this machine learn AI information that's, come from all over the world into answer in maybe 2 or 3 sentences. And I think that's kind of where we're going with all this very high level information access, we can literally go to the very root of every single question and get maybe the most popular or the most common answer, or even from the brilliant minds of today who are looking into the future, what their thoughts are on just virtually any topic. So that alone is fascinating. And I would suggest to any team that they at least use GPT-3 as a resource when they're when they're having brainstorm sessions, or they have a problem they're pondering. Just go see what the experts and the visionaries who are around the world and feeding into this information think about whatever it is your question is about.
That's really important. Thank you for that. I want to circle back to one more question around the influencer program. Do you have a sense for what that drop off was? Kind of the spike, the initial spike in maybe customers or people signing up.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 2 months, 3 months, or just literally it was kind of a 1 month purchase and then those customers or potential consultants were gone? What type of impact did or didn't you see around that influencer program?
What I do know is the influencer programs that we have tried maybe lasted a month. If that. It was very fast. It was maybe 3 weeks here and there. And we decided not to use them anymore because they weren't, in our estimation, paying off in the long run.
That's
and
really interesting.
We didn't want our brand to be associated with a brand that paid for disingenuous kind of advertisement. We really want to make sure that our consumers are gained through sources that are very sincere and honest, authentic about the results of the products. And that, in our estimation, creates a very long-lasting, loyal following of consumers.
So it sounds like there potentially was, multiple variables impacting the potential success of that program at the same time. And I'll also say I totally agree in that if you're just kind of randomly paying or renting an audience from an influencer, it's not going to have much of an impact, especially and as far as an ROI. These macro influencers, I agree, you're not going to get a return there. You may get some, a bunch of eyeballs for that month or the length of the post or the relationship, but it probably won't be super impactful down the road.
Yeah, and we're taking that lesson into our streaming program, our live streaming program. We're gonna use not celebrities. We're using our distributors who love to conduct their business in that manner, who were very good at it, and just let them take the program and run with it.
I'm curious your philosophy around, buy, build, or lease. Do you try to build as much as you can internally? Do you find, something? And as you were talking about the stack, I was wondering, ensuring these things plug in easily, that are scalable, that you don't have to manage. What's your kind of approach and philosophy there?
Well, it used to be 100% build, which became the problem in that we were constantly rebuilding, but it was so customized that as these new technologies came along, we couldn't connect to the new technologies. And we went through a couple reiterations of new in-house systems that were complete and beautiful and wonderful. And then when we wanted to attach the next thing to it, we couldn't, period. So we'd have to go back to the drawing board, use what we had, of course, just to keep business going, and then try to figure out how to use something that was more universal, customize it to, of course, our culture processes, but yet create a stack where that we could then keep up with technology in a way where that we could add new tools to it that our distributors want. And that's been an ongoing problem. I can't imagine that we're the only company that has that problem.
No, I think everyone is feeling a little bit like we've got our hands tied behind our backs as it relates to adopting some of this new technology. And I'm so impressed that you have gotten your system to a point where it's able to, bring in and assume some of these technologies without that literally we're going to be stuck. We're going to be, in a rowboat without any paddles. So congratulations for getting it to a point where you've got your system that can even kind of absorb some of these and utilize these technologies. And that may even be one of the most important places for company and direct selling to start right now. Obviously, there's amazing social platforms that we need to be using, but as it becomes more and more our responsibility to partner with distributors around acquisition and retention, if our system can't accommodate these new tools and technology, we're in serious trouble. And to Peter's point, if we don't do that within the next year or two, we're going to be left behind. Meaning these individual companies, if some of us don't do this, we're going to be left behind for sure.
I worry about the smaller companies who may not have the talent and the resources to put some of this in play. And I think that we could start having conversations amongst each other that discusses solutions to this issue, because of course we want all our friends and all our companies to succeed. And there's got to be a way, those who have can help out those who haven't yet been able to attend to these kind of future planning sessions, so to speak.
Absolutely. And that's something that really has always impressed me about you, is your desire for not just your company and your consultants, but the channel as a whole to really grow, to maybe shake off some of the misconceptions and preconceived notions of the past. And to that point, I'd love to get your thoughts around PR. Many companies in the channel try to avoid it. They'll, run 10 blocks in every direction. I even remember a CEO a few years ago saying, the best PR is no PR. But this is something that you have really embraced and really leaned into. And I would love to hear your thoughts about how you use PR and deal with some of the really tough questions that are inevitably going to come from any one of those interviews, probably every one of those interviews.
Well, we just decided that we were going to tell our own story instead of leave it to chance that someone came in and put a really wonky spin on who it was they thought we were. So we just decided we'd divide, create columns of every single topic that we represent. Maybe it's our philanthropy, it's our products, it's our culture. We even broke it down into what we do personally for our communities. We just began a program and said, okay, we're going to start advertising who we are. This is what we do. This is what we did 20 years ago. This is why we're in the market. This is what our product line looks like. This is how we introduced it. And this is how we've grown over the past 20 years to this size. So we even included, a woman business owner, a fast growing company, a direct sales company. We wanted to make sure that we addressed that so that we could talk about it. I can tell you, Wayne, for many of the speeches that I've given in business environments, like we've won an award over here, over there, I am the only speaker they've ever had that represents a direct sales company. The business community as a whole don't know what direct sales companies are. They don't know how they operate. They don't understand it. They only think they know because they heard direct sales is a pyramid, something like that. And very often after I speak, and when I speak, I always explain what direct sales companies are, what they do for our communities, what they do for our distributors. I'm often thanked by many of the top people in the room for explaining what that was, because they had completely different impressions. And I'm very proud of our company and the things that we've accomplished. And so I'm not afraid to go out and tout our accomplishments, our distributors' accomplishments, and the contributions we've made to our communities. I think in doing so, not only are we helping our own company, we're helping the industry as a whole. And I think if more companies would do that, it would make a huge impact for the reputation of the industry.
Absolutely. I went through a lot of the earned media, the PR, the interviews, and other earned media elements that you've done. And you've always, yes, there might be, a little bit of a curveball question or something, but you've done an amazing job of redirecting it and really helping to retell the story. I love that you talked about, just tell our story and really own our story. I think that we have shied away from it so often that we need more advocates like you out there talking about the good that it does from a product, from a business, from a philanthropic perspective. So thank you for embracing it again. And another way I think you're really leading out, many companies on the channel will completely avoid it when possible for fear of the other side not understanding the full story and context. But you've done a great job of providing that context and putting it into perspective. I know that you and company have been looking at things on the NFT side. So blockchain and NFT, it's hard to even turn on a television or open a newspaper these days without having that almost on the front page. So what are you and SeneGence doing to leverage NFTs to recognize and reward your consultants?
Well, that's one of those things we are in process of doing. We had the pleasure of showing an NFT, presentation from a stage at the DSA convention to plant the concept that NFTs, of course, are great tools for gamification, but they can also be used for customer acquisition. And we're finding there's still a lot of work to do because not everybody could do it. Some could, some couldn't. So it worked for some, it didn't work for others. It's kind of like how many ways can this newer NFT technology fit into certain settings on everyone's phone? That kind of thing hasn't been perfected, but we love NFTs, and we're about to do another program with NFTs for specifically customer acquisition. It is a fun way, a unique way to engage your distributors in giving them a tool to talk about something totally bizarre and unique to their friends and to their contacts. Hey, look at this. Isn't this cool? If you do this, you're going to get this. In our case, a product from our company. And by the way, if you send it to more people, you're going to get even more. And in the meantime, the company's acquiring more contacts. The distributors are acquiring more customers. It's just another way to acquire customer acquisition.
That's really interesting. So I'm trying to get a little more clarity from my standpoint. And again, don't share. I know this is things that are still in process, so don't share what you're not comfortable with. But are you leveraging it almost as kind of a gift with purchase? How is that, how is that NFT being leveraged and shared ultimately to drive the conversion versus maybe something that you're just gifting for recognition?
Gift with purchase.
Interesting.
That's exactly, yes.
Oh, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Again, congrats to SeneGence and you. You're really leading the way on so many of these fronts. What are some of the other initiatives that are underway there at the company that are helping your company to remain relevant and competitive going into the future?
Well, I would say product development. I mean, that's the only thing left.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, no matter how great your technology is, no matter what kind of tools you offer to your distributors to acquire customers, if you don't have products that they really want and they love, they're passionate about, then all of that goes for naught. So of course, we're always in the throes of some fantastic new products. And, at this point, Wayne, I can't share that with you because
Sure.
some of it is patent pending.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really interesting. I'm excited. We'll have to have you on again after the launch and hear more about it.
Perfect.
As you look at the product development side, are you doing a lot of the innovation or only doing it solely internally? Are you acquiring some of it? How do you look at that internal?
It's in-house.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So the rate and change that's happening, the rate of change that's happening in the direct selling channel is pretty mind-boggling. You're really at the forefront of a lot of it. As you look around, and again, I'm asking as kind of a champion and an advocate of the channel as a whole, are we evolving fast enough? Like, is there a path to get there to remain, relevant and at the cutting edge? Are we moving quick enough, or do we need to, all of our individual companies light more of a fire?
I think we're moving as a unit as fast as any other unit that has products and services to sell. Because I think we're all in the same boat, unless you are the inventor of the newest AI technology, e-commerce, whatever, unless it's your business. That is your business that in that world. The rest of us are the users of those tools. So based upon the conversations that we've had today, if we are implementing these things that we've talked about, then we're staying up as fast as we can until we get access to the new stuff. But the new stuff is coming so much faster. I think we've already talked about that. The challenge really is for all of us to sit down and create a strategy to stay relevant. And I don't know that enough of us have done that, not only in our channel, but in other service and retail channels.
Interesting. My last question that I want to end on here. So if you could go back and give yourself advice as you were starting SeneGence, now that you can look back, what's the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
At this point, to not have built our own infrastructure. You have used one of the big ones, like, maybe it was Oracle back in the day. Maybe I should have just, paid the money and used them to start. I think it could have saved us a lot of time and a lot of money over the course of the last 23 years.
Hindsight's always 2020, but you've been able to move and adjust fast enough that again, you are leading on so many of these fronts. And
we're trying, Wayne. We're trying.
You're trying in an amazingly effective way. I'll just say that. Many of us aren't probably trying as hard as we should. Again, that's been me in the past as well. And it's great to have companies and examples such as yourself to really look and understand a framework and a path forward. We're in a lot of meetings, we're in a lot of calls, whether it's at DSU or other events. And I love that there's a company such as you and others out there that are willing to share and help kind of, highlight and put the spotlight on that path forward, and that you don't look at it as competition, but collaboration. I think that's really inspiring as well. And I think we can all come together and, combine our learnings and our findings and our insights and continue to evolve and advance even faster as a channel. And I'm really appreciative of the part that you've played in that as a leader and all of that. So thank you.
Well, Wayne, I think you all do an amazing job at DSN and DSU. And I thank you, Shelley Stewart, for providing that kind of format for all of us to get together and feel that we can talk openly and freely about the issues of today.
Joni, thank you so much. We're going to check in with you after some of these product launches. We're excited to hear about the innovation, and we're excited to continue to learn from all you're doing.
Great. It was a pleasure, Wayne. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's ours. Thank you, Joni. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to subscribe so that you're the first to know when new episodes are available. And don't forget to register for the fall DSU event to hear from Blake Mallon, Amanda Tress, and 30 plus of today's executive leaders to gain insights and access to the topics you care about most. DSU takes place in just 7 weeks on October 6th and 7th in Irving, Texas. Register at dsu2022.com, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.